So this is your reminder that you get to be you, and you don't have to explain that to anybody. Ever. This week has been an exercise in understanding why I have tried to be invisible almost my whole life, whilst at the same time craving being seen in whatever form that took. And it has always seemed to be an approval-seeking exercise or a validation-seeking exercise. That's always how I've categorized it. And where I've landed is that I am the person that I most need validation and approval from. In fact, I am the only person that I need that from. And that feels completely true. I did procrastinate beginning this one. I always knew that she was called invisible when I was connecting with the reference image. I immediately was back my young teenage self looking at the world through a very thick and woolly mane of curly hair, the fringe behaving like my security blanket. That's what it felt like. And so, I don't know, maybe I was procrastinating beginning this because I felt like it was going to take me into places. And it did, really deep, dark places. I went into feeling emotions like rage and utter impotence brought on by glitches and gremlins that I was chasing in the video editing process, and that seemed to stop me completely. And I couldn't go further with the picture because my need to document my process is part of the process, not just because I want to share it with you, but also because I go back and look at what I've done. Because while I'm in the process, I'm in it. And it's not until I go back and watch what I've done. And the same applies to when I write. When I go back and read later on what I've written, is when it's like reading it for the first time. And when I go back and look at my painting process, I understand how it came to be. Because when I just look at the final product, I can be astonished and amazed at how wonderful it is, but how did I get there? And being able to see that process is enlightening and delicious. I love it. I hope you do too. That's why I'm making these videos the way that I make them. And so teenage me helped me understand that rage and impotence that the adult me was laying over this whole process. And so all of these really deep, dark things were bubbling up. And I got to the point about 3/4 of the way through where I wanted to just give it all up. And, what was the point of me trying to do this art thing anyway? I'm just a waste of space. And it was very painful. But ultimately, I've come to understand why I'm an artist at all. And I don't know that I can verbalize that yet. But feeling that I'm doing the thing I need to do is enough for now. I don't need to explain it, and maybe that's the point. Hey, I'm going to take you through my process of deciding what to do on the next page in my sketchbook. And I'm going to do another of what I call the sketches. Sorry about this. This is my setup to record the desk, which is what I'm going to show you. And in fact, I'll take you there right now. So this is my sketchbook, and you've already seen pensive and intense. I took scans of those today and they worked really well, so they might be included in the book. But this was a sketch of an armchair, actually. And I painted over it, and last night I got my palette knife out and just a couple of tubes of paint and smeared some more opaque colours to completely obliterate that sketch, which is, created some nice, texture and lines in the background. But now what I want to do is decide which picture to work on. And I'll show you, these are all my reference pictures. So, can you see my, I don't know, you can see my mouse, never mind. So, I've already drawn from this one and this one, and I've just gone through and actually named the other more modern images. Also, I'm thinking that I want to work with this one, Invisible. Let me open it up. There she is. Because she kind of matches with how I'm feeling at the moment. And actually it matches with this background. The feeling of this background matches with the feeling I get from her, matches with the feeling that I'm getting from me right now, because I've been procrastinating doing this drawing. But no more. Let's see what happens. It's been a roller coaster this week. I've been painting invisible, making the invisible scene my invisible. There are so many layers to the story. Because I think it must be a creative thing, because my wife is a music producer and composer, and she encounters the same thing. Author friends of mine, I get the same thing with my writing. We have these peaks of inspiration where everything is amazing, and then we feel like we're completely pretending, and how could this possibly be so easy and be any good? Because that's our genius, isn't it? Our genius is the thing we're gifted by the universe that is easy and fills us with joy. And we put a null value on it because of those very things. Which is very consumerist and commercial, and has very little love contained in the entire philosophy. And so I'm in the process of reclaiming joy for joy's sake, for healing, for pleasure, letting myself feel good about the things that I do well and easily, valuing that. That's really hard. I want to do it the way I want to do it. And that sounds odd, but I don't think it's so unusual, really. I ran into problems with videoing, and for me, making these videos of my art process is part of the creation process. Not only because I want to be able to share the whole thing with you, but because I find that when I go back and watch what I've done, because I'm so in the process when I'm doing it, going back and watching it gives me insight into how it happened in the first place. Because I don't remember, and I look at the finished piece and go, how on earth did I do that? That's actually pretty good. The thing is, I need to show, the best work I do is when I show up with no plan. No plan at all. If I try to plan out a work, when it comes to visual arts, painting, drawing, if I try and show up with a plan or try and structure it too much, it just doesn't flow. I can't find that flow, and I never like what happens. The result is never pleasing. It doesn't make me feel good. But when I lose myself to it and just show up and pick up the thing that I'm called to pick up, the paintbrush, the pen, whatever, and begin, then it takes me on this journey, and I end up with something that I could never have planned to end up with. But I had a bit of a meltdown this week during this process. Got to the point of, what's the point of it all? I'm useless, I'm pointless, I'm a waste of space. I may as well not even bother. And that was really painful. But then I needed to remind myself that even if nobody watches these videos, I get so much pleasure from them. And that's enough. And if one other person finds this and is able to sit back and listen to the incredible music that my wife created especially for this artwork, to complement it, to go with the story that I told her as inspiration, which I'll tell you now. When I was a teenager, in the 80s, a young teenager, I had this wild woolly hair, very curly, and a fringe, and my fringe would hang down and I would watch the world through my fringe, and that was like my safety blanket, wasn't it, I suppose? And I think I tried as hard as I could to be invisible, or just part of the scenery, or not there, or and there are a lot of reasons for that, and I guess that we'll touch on those as I do more artwork, because that seems to be how I'm getting in touch with my younger self most easily. Through all the years of helping other people into these dark places and leading them back out again as a holistic therapist and body worker, I've only ever touched on the edges of my own younger self and helping her through. Art seems to be how I'm doing that most thoroughly. And so the story I told her was of my young teenage self trying to feel invisible, and feeling invisible even when I wasn't trying. School years, I did not enjoy school at all. I was bullied and I was different and I was weird. And so I tried not to be there as much as I could inside my own head. And so this reference image was kind of giving me that vibe, where she was hiding and wasn't ready to step into the power. She knew it was there, but it was too much. And so the piece that my wife has written, the music, is called Distorted Reality, because that was what it was, wasn't it? It was a distorted reality. It was the reality that I had built. And that's the whole point of we create our own reality. It's not about me thinking table and table appears, although, you know. It's how I perceive and project onto the world around me that then reflects back. This feedback loop. But anyway, right now today, I have my coffee. I finished an amazing piece. I came up out of this real darkness and pain, not into euphoria, because that's not a pendulum that I want to swing constantly down into the depths, up into euphoria, because I'm constantly in search of balance, that balance point. And today I found it. At the end of the week I found it. And now I get to cut together the video footage of this week and share it with you. And I hope you enjoy it. I did. Unfortunately, when I finished recording and had turned all the cameras off, I had just come out of that really dark, heavy emotional place, and I felt on an even keel again and thought I was finished the drawing. So I stopped all the cameras and turned everything off. Unfortunately, I then picked up my brush, loaded it with one of my lovely Gansai graphites, shadowy colours that I had been using, and thought I will just do a little bit of a shadow over the whole face and lighten it because it was quite light. What happened was I obliterated the face and created just a shadow, like she had no face anymore. So my gut dropped and I didn't plunge back into that despondency that I had been in. I'd found that balance that I'm always seeking. I'd done enough release and process and staying with the uncomfortable feelings and the discomfort inside my body that I could pick up my pencils again and find her face. And what I've ended up with is something more, something better, something deeper than what I thought I had when I thought I had finished. Her face has turned out to be more subtle, softer, more depth. And so what you don't see after I thought I had finished is probably the most important part that I could have videoed. And it's invisible. It's turned out to be the invisible part of the process. So lesson to me is record everything, even when you think you won't need it, because it might be the most important thing. Anyway.